This is embarrassing.
First big moment as Excel Woods and Zach are both going to be again eliminated. We have a big three over here.
I get that.
And anyone's going out for a beer, it's you three.
I'm really impressed with Dave, Brando, and QC.
Dave, the only person so far who no one has voted for.
Go with Dave.
Dave as well.
Yeah, I said Dave too.
Gotta go with you. Sorry, bro.
What the fuck's going on? It was a long run.
Oh!
It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you get hit and keep moving forward.
But it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Lucky Boy reviews Alex Holmes, Shayna Brox, the Quick Critic.
Yeah, Quick Critic. Really
Oh my
impressing me.
goodness.
Like, amazing. He's doing way better than he's ever done. We're going to have a lot of heavy hitters in day 2.
Oh my god. If
So,
you think day
yeah.
1 was bad, just wait for day 2. Welcome everyone to the League of Cinephiles. I'm your host Alex Homer, bringing you more simulated competition. Today is day 2 of our big Cinema Wars Battle Royale. Now, before I get to the competitors for today, as well as the rules, let me just get you over to our co-host for the second day in a row, Tristan French. Tristan, how are you doing on this second beautiful day of some absolutely beautiful Cinema Wars action?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on. Yesterday was a lot of fun. Can't wait for today. Yeah.
So let's just go through a mini recap of what happened yesterday. I mean, there's one name that comes to mind. One name I think we both know what that name was, and I said it yesterday. This is not called the Cinema Wars Battle Royale anymore. It's called the Quick Critic Battle Royale. This man was absolutely phenomenal. It's one of the best performances we've ever seen, period, from the League of Cinephiles. He's the only OG member who was at the beginning of the match of yesterday's action to remain in the competition.
One thing that I think he's doing really well is, first of all, he's picking really good answers. He's never picked an answer that's super controversial. I haven't seen a whole lot of votes against him. And also, I think he's doing a really good job. Even when he picks something that's going against the grain, he does a really good job at kind of putting the arguments on someone else.
Let's go over the rules one more time. So it'll be 5 competitors in the arena at the same time. Each round, a random sim-related prompt will be chosen. Competitors will have 1 minute to then come up with their answers to said prompt. They will then write their answers down. And after the 1 minute, they will all reveal their answers to the camera. And then after their answers are written down and shown, me and Tristan will remove ourselves from the stream. And then those 5 people will freely debate for 8 minutes. Again, 8 minutes. Try to keep your arguments very brief, people. We're going to cut you off, or I'm going to come back in the stream to cut you off if you're going for too long. And then after the round is over, the competitors in the competition will vote to eliminate the person that they did worst. They thought that did worst in that round. We're not going by personal biases, who's lasted longest, that kind of stuff. It's just strictly based on the argument. And then after the person or people are eliminated, the next person will then come into the stream. So in reverse order, let's get started on our number 12 entrant who survived yesterday's day of action with a phenomenal 1 round of debating. Lucky Boy.
Boom! 1 round, baby. I made it.
Our 11th entrant who survived a mere 2 rounds. I mean, a bit better than Lucky Boy, but not by a lot. Alex Holmes, who is returning to the League of Cinephiles.
Let's just say I did twice as better as Lucky Boy yesterday. So
Dana Bratz at the number 9 spot, surviving with 4 rounds of action.
Hi guys, happy to be here again.
And I mean, last but certainly not least, our MVP from the number 4 spot, still sitting in the same chair, the Quick Critic. Woo!
It's all about Darth Vader, man. It's all about Darth Vader. I feel like you guys have set me up for failure, but it's all good. It's all good. I'm going to try my best, and we'll see what happens.
Let's get started with our number 13 entrant. Entering the arena to the theme of choice, he is the current and 2-time Cinema Wars champion of the world and the most winningest Cinema Wars competitor of all time, Big J from That was a lot.
Just a little bit nervous now that I heard all that about the Quick Critic.
Who is the most overrated director of all time? A classic Cinema Wars question. 1 minute of prep.
I'm gonna
Okay,
get
interesting.
Michael Bay.
Woody Allen.
Of course you will. Of course.
Fucking in yellow.
go Zack Snyder.
Chloe Zhao.
All right, 8 minutes on the clock. Let's get started.
So I said Zack Snyder. I know he's not like gets considered by a lot of cinephiles to be the best, but I do think he's overrated, and I think he's like rated very highly because I mean, he has the rabid fan base. He got the Snyder cut. I mean, somebody that's not considered that great would not be able like given that much of a budget to make their own like 4-hour cut of a movie.
And the reason I chose Michael Bay, I know for the cinephiles, you may think, well, Michael Bay is not really overrated. He's we generally don't like him because his movies they make money, but they're not really good films. But for the industry and for the general population, Michael Bay is one of the, he continues to make movies. His movies make a ton of money, but he continues to get work. And when you think of, for the average person, if you think of like, just ask the average person to name a famous director, and Michael Bay's name comes up. So that's why, to me, to the general population, I would say Michael Bay is definitely overrated.
Chloe Zhao she won Best Director this year. Still waiting on the Eternals to see really like if she is going to deliver on her promise. So right now, in my mind, she's still overrated.
Chloe Zhao has 2 movies. The Rider is amazing, and she didn't have enough time to show. And I don't think anyone is saying like she's the best ever. And then Michael Bay and Zack Snyder. Like, yeah, they make money, but no one sees them as like top tier directors. I choose Woody Allen because the thing is, Woody Allen made 2 good movies that kind of put him in a status, and that's Man, Adam, and Annie Hall, and kind of put him in a status that no one had the guts to ever say if he did a bad movie to call him out.
All right, well, I'll finish this off with Christopher Nolan. So I think kind of similar to Aniola's argument, I think that he's very overhyped right now because he had really great films in the beginning of his career, such as like The Dark Knight and Memento and like other stuff like that, movies that I personally love. But then if you get to his more recent stuff, like I know that this is controversial, but like Inception, Tenet, Dunkirk, Interstellar, like those were all like very popular, but in my personal opinion, don't live up to the original films, like or the first few films that he made. I think that he's a very like conceptual kind of director, and he comes with really cool concepts, really cool visuals. But his newer movies like don't really live up in all the other aspects.
So Anila, you made a point that Michael Bay and Zack Snyder, aren't overrated. And listen, just because we don't necessarily like all their movies, Michael Bay and Zack Snyder, to a lesser degree, you don't continue to get the kind of work they get and be attached to them, the most popular franchises, movies that are making millions, billions of dollars year over year consistently without being rated highly in the industry.
Their fan base would probably consider them like one of the greatest directors. Like I'm sure Snyder's fans are like saying he is the greatest director living right now. Bay's fans are going to say the same thing.
Does Michael Bay have like a diehard following other than just like they like Transformers movies, but do they like Michael Bay? Because most of his movies, the scores are super low.
Chloe Zhao is also that we can say she's overrated because she made 2 movies and they are very good, like the 2 movies that she made. But like we said before, it's just very recent.
I think you're just kind of calling Nomadland overrated instead of like she's only had 1 really popular movie. So I think, like you said, you got to wait for Eternals.
All right, so that'll end this round of action. Holmes, let's get started with you. Who did you choose to get eliminated?
Okay, I said Lucky Boy.
Oh, I picked QC.
So I actually picked Lucky.
Yeah, I also went with Lucky. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Wow! QC survives yet again. Lucky Boy woke up at 8:30 in the morning. I'm really sorry to say.
No, man, this was a hard one right off the bat. I was literally racking my brain.
Lucky Boy Reviews has been eliminated. QC survives another round. His total at the moment is 9. Let's see if he can get into double digits as our 14th entrant comes into the arena. Entering the arena to the theme of the good, the bad, and the ugly. He is the second ever Film Trivia Clash champion and representing Cinephiles in Paradise, Tyler Bad News Banner.
Afternoon, gentlemen, lady.
Are you?
Nice to see your face again.
Good to see you, Tyler. Yeah.
Who is the best live-action Spider-Man?
Ooh, I'm going with Tom Holland.
I'm going with Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire.
I'm gonna go with Tom Holland.
Okay, 3v2 here.
Okay.
Tyler and Aniolo, past enemies, working together. Let's get started.
All
8
right.
minutes on the clock.
Holland just plays it way too safe. I mean, he's good. He's fine. There's nothing wrong with him. But I think Maguire, I just felt a lot more emotion for his character. I felt I liked what he was doing. Like I felt a lot of sympathy for him.
I will say I think that he adds a lot of depth to the character that maybe Tom Holland doesn't have, because he is playing the teenager, so he's acting more for the comedy of it. I think that Tobey Maguire had like a better emotional range.
Before you said if we forget the comic books, but we are talking about a live action Spider-Man. If he goes there and he acts as Batman and he does a great job, he's not going to be the best live action Spider-Man. First of all, he looks like a 40-year-old playing a teenager. He doesn't always like, I love his movies. I love the Spider-Man movies that he did, but you never really feel that he's struggling with a lot of the things that he's trying to convey. Tom Holland, what he's been doing, is still on the middle of an arc. So he starts at this really silly kid. On the second one, we already see him like struggling with issues like losing his father figure. And now we have a third movie to go the full arc.
Like Tom Holland really captures the youthful essence of Peter Parker.
So I picked Tobey Maguire, and I think the category as I'm reading it is best live action Spider-Man, not most comic accurate Spider-Man, right? So to me, Tobey Maguire, he's the most iconic portrayal of Spider-Man on screen in my view, and he starred in what is largely considered the best Spider-Man film, and for some people the best comic book film ever, in Spider-Man 2. He also solidified the Spider-Man films that he was in, really solidified the comic book kind of like event movie as well, which is really, really important for the industry.
Yeah, Aniola, you were talking about how like the most important part was like the great power comes with great responsibility. And I agree with you. And I think you guys are kind of overlooking that. You're kind of, saying, oh, he looks too old or he doesn't have the humor. But the essence of the character is the great power comes with great responsibility. And I think even though it's like sometimes cheesy in the original trilogy, I think that comes across really effectively. Like in the second movie, when he abandons his costume and everything.
For me, if we're talking about the best movies, Sam Raimi did the best movies. If you guys think about it, if we had an actor that looked more of the part, that could play more into those insecurities, that would have worked even better. And Tobey Maguire did a great work with it. But I still think that if we talk about live action Spider-Man, it's not being comic book accurate, but it's being what the character kind of means.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree a little bit with that, because I definitely think like in a lot of the movies, like you see his interactions with his family and his interaction with his peers. And he just he comes across as like a very lonely kid, a kid who's like kind of lost. And then when he gets the thing I like the most about his performances is that he loses his uncle and he loses all these things. He doesn't have that many friends. And then he gains the Spider-Man and he really comes into himself. And I think that also is something that's a little bit missing in the Tom Holland ones, because it is more like the Tobey Maguire ones are more serious.
I think with Tobey Maguire is that fast forward to today, I feel like his performance and his take on the role of Peter Parker has kind of become a meme. I mean, if you look at he's kind of known for just having that cry face that he has in Spider-Man when his Uncle Ben dies. I mean, I feel like people have making a joke out of that.
All right, so that's going to end this round of action. Now vote for the person you think should be eliminated based on that round.
Well, I'm gonna have to do this. I voted Tyler because I just. I'm sorry. I just thought that the arguments you made weren't that great.
I was on your side.
I know, but the arguments you made weren't great. It's about the argument. I'm sorry.
I also voted for Tyler. I think he's sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to soften the blow. Your hat is really cool, though. I really like your hat. I just don't think he's a meme. That really hurt me.
That was the part that kind of
I also said Tyler. I'm really sorry.
Oh God.
So I'm sorry, but I got some bad news. Tyler.
I picked Shayna for this one.
Wait, this has happened multiple times where people vote for Shayna for random reasons, but okay. It's the third time this has happened.
Yeah, it's always everybody else, and then the one person votes for me. It's fine. I get it.
Any last words, Tyler?
Honestly, I knew I wasn't gonna last long. I didn't think I would last this long. But on Yellow, I hope you rot in hell and live.
Jesus Christ! Look,
that is the best moment. We had a lot of great action yesterday.
What the hell? Everyone voted for him, man. I'm the one going
messed
to
up.
hell.
I mean, I can't believe you did that.
So let's get to entrant number 15. Entrant
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here and glad I could witness what just happened.
Again, we have our number 4 entrant, QC, who survived, 10 rounds? 10 rounds of action, so this is your 11th round. Congratulations, QC. Shayna Olsen, impressive. I'm terrible at math. Is it 5 now? 6?
Yeah.
What is the best fight sequence ever done in a movie?
There's only one answer for this, and it's the raid scene, the corridor scene on the raid.
I'm gonna go with the John Wick in the first movie in the bathhouse, that scene.
So I'm gonna pick the helicopter fight scene from Civil War.
From Last Jedi, the throne room scene. Remember, it's just the fight scene, okay, guys? Just,
Actually,
I'm sorry.
can I change my answer? It's too late to change my answer. Anakin versus Obi-Wan in the Battle of Mustafar.
I'm not too far from Uniolo. I went with the Raid 2, though it doesn't see very well.
All right.
Mad
the
Dog
Raid
versus
2.
Rama, specifically, in the kitchen.
I really personally love the way that the John Wick movies do violence. I call it an art because I just think it's beautiful, the way that the fighting is done. John Wick fights seamlessly, and the way that, like, even with like hand-to-hand, with guns, with knives, like anything, like, it's always beautiful when you watch it. And also, like, the way that they do the blood spatters, the lighting is amazing. What I specifically like about this scene that I'm mentioning from the first movie with the bathhouse is that they have a really great color scheme. It's like light blue and like kind of pinkish lighting, so it's kind of dark. He goes through and just annihilates a whole bunch of random people in the bathhouse. He also he practices stealth. He goes all out. You basically see you see knives. You see strangulation. You can pretty much see like any sort of like style of fight.
Okay, so I'm picking the fight from The Last Jedi. I think the throne room scene is one of the best lightsaber fights in Star. I mean, I guess I would say the best. Phantom Menace is close, but I think this one is just, besides having the really cool choreography, like just like unique lightsaber moves that you haven't seen before. You also have like those guards, the Imperial guards that are have their own unique weapons. You also have the emotion behind the scene and like the whole thing. The scene is like a turning point in the movie, right when Kylo Ren switches sides for a little bit. And so I think that also gives it a lot of driving force.
And, the Battle of Mustafar, Darth Vader, we established yesterday, Darth Vader, either one or two as far as like the best villains ever in movie history, right? So this fight scene represents the birth of Darth Vader and, put a capstone on the beginning of one of the best arcs ever in cinema as far as like the ballad of Anakin Skywalker and going from, being Anakin to being Darth Vader and to ultimately being redeemed. And it's arguably the most impressive lightsaber combat on screen that we've ever seen of any Star Wars movie. So that alone, considering that the iconic nature of Star Wars, the iconic nature of Darth Vader, and the stakes of that battle, and just how amazing it was, just it being created using CGI and just everything they did with that scene and just the lava and just like the emotion of it and Padme in the beginning and all that kind of stuff. Overall, to me, it just makes it one of the best fight scenes.
So that fight scene of Ohms is like, I did martial arts for 20 years, and that's like a joke between all of us because it is goddamn horrible. You have people waiting on the back of other people to attack. It's just horrendous as a fight scene. It looks very cool. It's like nice looking. Like, I chose the raid exactly for that. First of all, everyone in that scene, including the actors, are martial artists. There's no need to slow down anything because all of them are top martial artists from all over the world. Hundreds of people are fighting against one guy, and this guy is getting stabbed, this guy is getting hurt. It's like just one of the best scenes in any movie I ever seen.
I picked the Raid 2 because a lot of what Uniolo said, the stakes are there, the actors are martial artists, they do it all themselves, but you have the pent-up tension built from the first movie and this new confrontation that has all the highest stakes possible. The emotion is there, there's a history between these characters, and it is the old Jackie Chan rule of having an amazing beginning, amazing in between, but you got a strong ending as well.
I think the difference between the Raid and Star Wars is like the Raid movies are supposed to be realistic. I mean, but Star Wars, space wizards and fighting in space. I mean, it's not supposed to be realistic. So I think it's fine that the martial arts aren't necessarily realistic. I've agreed with you, QC, up to this point, most of what you said, but I do have a pretty big bone to pick with you about the Mustafar fight. I do agree the emotion behind it is there, like the two friends, fighting, but the choreography I think is completely terrible. Like it looks like they're like doing a dance or something. They're just like swinging their lightsabers in like circles. You don't actually feel like any of them are ever in danger. I just feel like there's no grit behind it. There's no like, it's not visceral. It's just like, oh, it looks pretty like cool.
I get that. My only rebut to the throne scene that you mentioned is there's a lot of problems with that scene as far as, to Agnolo's point, some of the actors literally just waiting to attack. You know what I mean? In a movie that's being made in modern times, not a movie from 20 years ago. It's not like Bruce Lee where you saw that kind of thing. It's like modern times. So that scene has a lot of problems.
So I'm going to emphasize a bit of the points that have been made because I have a lot of issues with the Anakin versus Obi-Wan fight, because in concept, the concept is there for everything that QC brought up, but in execution is just not there, because the Ballad of Anakin Skywalker, as you called it, which is a great name, by the way, just was so butchered up until that point. It's not as impactful as it should be in execution.
All right, so that's going to end it. So now, vote for the individual you think should be eliminated based on that round.
I'm gonna have to go with Holmes.
Yeah, I went Holmes as well. That scene gets on my nerves as well.
Right back at you. I went with QC.
So I'm gonna have to go with QC on that.
I went with the scene that I like the least, because everyone brought scenes that I like, but the one that I like the least is QC's from Revenge of the Sith. God damn it, why can't you see it?
This is
a nice run.
Round of applause for QC, everybody. It was an honor.
Oh, thank you.
It was an
Thank
honor.
you. You're too kind. You're too kind.
10 rounds.
10 rounds.
Double
Okay.
digits.
Wow.
So the quick critic has been eliminated. Now, Shayna is the individual in the match who has been here the longest.
I don't understand how this has happened.
To entrant number 16. Entering the arena to the theme of Dunkirk. Representing the audience, Chris Hemsworth.
For a brief moment, I thought it was Chris Hemsworth. How did he got him?
High connections.
It's really good that you guys voted out QC. He's a tough competitor.
Apart from Robert Downey Jr., who has had the best acting comeback?
Keanu Reeves.
Matthew McConaughey.
Keanu Reeves?
I'm gonna go with Johnny Depp.
Zac Efron.
Keanu Reeves, man, he went on the down low for years, and then he came back with John Wick, and it hasn't been perfect. He has a few duds in there, but for the most part, he just re-energized how he comes across. Bill and Ted 3 was real fun. The John Wick movies arguably just keep getting better and better, and he's able to reinvent himself and give himself a new image.
And the thing is, since he did John Wick, now everyone wants to work with him. And he's doing things that probably he never had the guts to do before, like his voice acting in Toy Story was brilliant. He's doing like cameos, like ridiculous cameos on SpongeBob, that it was like the best part of the movie and everyone is laughing.
So I chose Johnny Depp because when he started his career with movies like Sweeney Todd, and there were other few films that he did, but it did not pan out really well. Of course, he had his Oscar nomination as well for Sweeney Todd, but then his career just went downhill with his drug addiction and the personal struggle that he had. I think his biggest comeback was with, of course, Pirates of the Caribbean, which is one of the most fan favorite characters of all time, which of course also got him his second Oscar nomination. And I think that is when Depp has explored his acting forte altogether, and his movies since, all his movies since Pirates of the Caribbean have been really good. Take for example Public Enemies. Even though Public Enemies was not that, it did not perform that well in the critics table, but I think as an actor, he and Christian Bale did a lot of a good job.
Cool. So I chose Zac Efron. I think everybody knows Got to Start on the High School Musical 1, 2, 3. Those movies, humongous hits. But recently he's really started to expand what he's been doing, because previously it was just like, oh, he's hot and he can sing. But so he was in The Greatest Showman, which of course was a really big hit, and that was kind of like the start of his comeback. He's also in Neighbors, which is which was comedy, which was not at all like the High School Musical movies, but extremely wicked, shockingly evil, and vile. He was incredible as Ted Bundy in that, in my personal opinion. I think that really blew me away. And he really proved in that he can do serious acting roles.
Matthew McConaughey. He started great with Dazed and Confused. That's an amazing start. But then after that, can you name a Matthew McConaughey movie before Magic Mike? I think he just had a span of 10 years. He didn't do much. But then he had Magic Mike, Mud, Interstellar, Wolf of Wall Street, all in the span of a couple of Dallas Buyers Club, obviously, in the span of 5 years. And I think that really marked his comeback. Now he's a prestigious actor. He still does the Lincoln commercials and stuff. But I think he's definitely now considered an A-list actor instead of someone who just kind of messes around.
I'm sorry, Chris, you just arrived, but Johnny Depp's career is pretty much dead by now. And the thing is, if you're talking about the comeback when he did Pirates of the Caribbean, yeah, okay. But the thing is, since then, you said he didn't do any bad movies. I don't know if you saw The Lone Ranger. I hope you didn't. Because, like, Jesus, let's talk about bad movies there.
Controversies apart, that is one controversial movie, I agree. But he did so
but
well.
the thing is, his career now is pretty much dead because of everything, also with his personal life.
It's just Johnny Depp, because Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Finding Neverland. I mean, that's it's the perfect meme material that you guys might have seen.
I think his decline started as soon as his comeback started. Like, his comeback was like the first Pirates movie, but then the rest of the Pirates movies are also just like get worse and worse. So I think it wasn't much of a comeback. I guess he had the 2 Burton movies, but besides that, he just kind of like, okay, he had this one blip of like this one good movie, and then a few here, but like it was not much. I feel like a comeback has to be a collection of strong movies, and also you had like, you know, Fantastic Beasts, another embarrassing movie, got like replaced in that. I mean, there are too many embarrassments and not enough like high points.
Everyone just ganged up on me.
Yeah, I went with Krish.
Krish as well. I'm sorry.
Shaina.
It's always Well, now I don't feel bad for voting for you. So
Yolo?
Krish.
Unfortunately, your stay here was brief. Any last words?
I'm just completely dumbstruck, bro.
Krishnan has been eliminated. Dana, another impressive round. You survived yet again. So let's get to entrant number 17. Entering the arena to the theme of defending your life. I have no idea what that is. Representing the Nice Guys. Win!
At this moment, what film stands the best chance at winning Best Picture at the 2022 Oscars?
I'm gonna go with PTA's Soggy Bottom.
House of Gucci.
The French Dispatch.
Being the Ricardos.
I'm gonna do Blonde, and the Ana de Armas movie.
I went with Soggy Bottom because we've seen PTA pretty much get love at the Academies. Phantom Thread and There Will Be Blood being the Best Picture nominees of his. And I feel like we've seen the Academy take like a rotating independent movie, big budget movie, kind of they're kind of alternating between the winners every year. And since PTA is kind of well known, this could be his time to kind of get in that big budget sphere and finally win an Academy Award for Best Picture. I also think that its star power with Bradley Cooper in the lead role would be really, really influential because he got so much love for A Star Is Born.
House of Gucci is like, if you are always like looking into the news, talking about the new movies coming, we always hear about the big blockbusters, but there's always one that's getting some attention, and it's House of Gucci. And the thing with Ridley Scott is he does get some love, even if the movies sometimes are a bit commercial. He does get some love from the Oscars, like The Gladiator, The Martian. He does get a lot of that love. But on this one, he also has the star power, like we were talking before, like Jared Leto, Adam Driver, Al Pacino.
Okay, so I went with Blonde, which is the Andrew Dominik movie with Ana de Armas as Marilyn Monroe. I mean, we all know the Academy loves movies, especially about movie stars, you know. Ana de Armas also is an up-and-coming star. I mean, I think like Knives Out would probably be her breakout movie, most would consider. And so this is like a big prestigious movie about, you know, maybe the most famous actress of all time, by a director who has a lot of success.
Yeah, so I chose The French Dispatch. I think this is definitely like an Oscar bait kind of movie. First of all, it's a Wes Anderson movie. So that's pretty easy. Second of all, the cast of this movie, Timothée Chalamet, who I guess we said yesterday he's not up and coming. He's already A-lists, but he's like a really big star among younger people. Tilda Swinton, Saoirse Ronan, Bill Murray, Frances McDormand. And Willem Dafoe. This is a packed cast. And I think what's going to push us over the top is that it's a movie about journalism.
So I went with Being the Ricardos. It's a movie about Hollywood being directed by basically a Hollywood historian in Aaron Sorkin. He's writing, he's directing, the Academy loves him. He at least gets some love. And with the amount of love he's gotten in history thus far, it only makes sense that this would be his crowning jewel. It's got Kate Blanchett, it's got Javier Bardem, it's got J.K. Simmons. about the history of Hollywood, celebrating some of Hollywood's biggest stars.
I feel like Aaron Sorkin missed his shot with Charlie Chicago 7. I mean, this year was like a light year. You know, there were not as many contenders, and he still didn't manage to even get like the screenplay win.
Well, going on that, you're saying Hollywood movies are not getting that much attention, but yours is about Marilyn Monroe. And the thing with Marilyn Monroe is we already had a movie called Weekend with Marilyn.
My Week with Marilyn.
My Week with Marilyn. And people weren't interested. I'm sorry, I had to go on the internet to know about that movie because I didn't even know that movie was coming out.
For the French Dispatch, I would argue that since Wes Anderson already got a lot of love for Grand Budapest Hotel, I don't necessarily think that French Dispatch is going to get as much love within the Academy itself. It's going to be a can release that a lot of people are going to love, in my personal opinion. But since the cast is so big, it might not get as many acting nominations.
With Best Picture, so like we're not talking about like Best Actor, Best Actress. I think that because this is going to be like it's such an ensemble cast, I think that ensemble movies are like generally kind of do better with like the Best Picture. I might be wrong about that, but I think that like having a really strong all-around cast will give it a better chance of winning Best Picture, whereas like there's one movie with like one star who like maybe isn't like all the way up to par. And then also I wanted to go back to the whole like Marilyn Monroe thing. I don't think that it matters that nobody's heard of it because a lot of movies that aren't super popular in the general public do end up winning Best Picture. But also, I think that Marilyn Monroe is tired. I think that like a lot of this like old Hollywood stuff, especially with like people our my age, like it's just like not really like important anymore.
The Blonde movie is based on a book that is very much surrounded by controversy. I haven't read it. I don't know anything. I'm excited for the film, but I'm just saying it's supposedly filled with lies and BS.
Okay, all right, so I got 3 arguments against me. So I think actually most of this can be turned around and actually helps the film. I think the controversy is actually a good thing, especially since, Shane, as you're saying, like the story's been told before. But if it's a different story that people aren't familiar with, and especially if it's controversial, that could actually attract a lot of attention.
Just your point about controversy really fast. If we recall the Disaster Artist, and obviously this is about the actor and not about the movie itself, but I think that James Franco attracted a lot of negative feedback as a result of the allegations swirling around at the time of the film, and he ended up like missing out on the Best Actor nomination that everyone kind of thought he would get at the Academy Awards. So in this case, I don't think that the controversy would really aid the movie in any type of way.
That's gonna end it. Vote for the person you think should be eliminated.
I voted for Ren.
I voted for Holmes.
Yeah, I voted for Holmes also.
That Blonde's gonna be good.
I voted for Ren just because I think that Alex gave a better argument.
Okay, Holmes. It was a good run.
I fought my hardest.
7 rounds. I just calculated it, which is more than Brando and Dave.
Any last words?
Blonde is probably going to be the worst of all these movies anyway. Except for the Sorkin one.
How many rounds has Shayna survived, by the way, Tristan?
9. So if she
9.
If she makes it past the next round, she'll beat the QC's record.
Let's see if this person has anything to say about that. Entering the arena to the theme of Once Upon a Time in America, representing Gone with the Wind, he is the silent killer Nikita.
Apparently, I'm the silent killer all of a sudden.
That silent killer is not a good name.
Indeed, yeah.
All right, let's get to the next prompt, a very vital one, especially for Shayna here. Which TV actor or actress has transitioned the best to the big screen?
George Clooney.
I went with Will Smith.
I have Steve Carell.
I was also going to go with Steve Carell. I was just checking.
I guess I'll go with John Hamm.
Cool. So obviously I don't need to go into why Steve Carell's great on The Office. I think that's a given. I think that he has a great range of roles since he's transitioned to television. He's done some voice acting, obviously, from all the Despicable Me movies. I personally love the Anchorman movies, Little Miss Sunshine, The 40-Year-Old Virgin. He's also done some pretty good dramatic acting. If you've ever seen The Way, Way Back, he does a really great job as like this shitty ex.
I mean, yeah, look, we all know Steve's comedic talent. I will not bring The Office up. But yeah, as you mentioned, his dramatic range is, I think, what's most impressive. When he did The Beautiful Boy, that movie with Timothée Chalamet, I mean, I was just shook by his performance. His performance was even better than Chalamet's for me. And as well as The Foxcatcher, where he was Oscar nominated and he should have won that award. if not for Redmayne's portrayal of Stephen Hawking.
I'm going Will Smith because he was a TV superstar. He had his own show, and already in that show, he showed the range that he could reach with comedy, with drama, and for a while there, he became king of the world. And despite his movies lately not being the best quality, he still brings into them 100%. He's a mega producer. He's been even a music star for a while, so he branched not only into movies but into music. So he explored all possible worlds in his pursuit of growing as a star.
John Hamm before Mad Men was not doing very much. He had a couple cameos, one episode arcs on TV shows. He showed up as Don Draper and kind of changed, you know, what TV was looking like at the time. You can't deny that Mad Men's a really iconic show, but I think the last thing anybody expected was for him to branch off and do comedies. He's hilarious in Bridesmaids. He's probably the best character in Baby Driver, in my personal opinion. He's fun in Bad Times at the El Royale. He's got all these movies coming out where, yeah, he's not necessarily the star, but like every time he pops up, it's like, that's Don Draper, that's Mad Men, that's John Hamm.
Well, before I go into mine, Lyd, you just put the finger on what I had the problem with your answer, is that I could never forget his performance on Mad Men. And every movie I saw it since, he never got to that level. So when we talk about best transition, for me, he never transitioned. To be fair, I wish he would go back to TV because he's just one of the best actors on TV. Okay, so I picked George Clooney because George Clooney had his moment on TV with ER. He was seen as the good-looking boy, and then he kind of had a break with From Dusk Until Dawn in cinemas, and then he did a couple of weird movies, and you thought, oh well, he's just going to be one of those pretty boys. But then all of the other projects that he did, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Burn After Reading, Brother, Where Are You, even the Ocean's 11, he just showed that he was a superstar.
I'll argue really fast on the Steve Carell point. It's like, I feel like he's a good actor. I feel like when you see him, you still think Michael Scott. He's kind of gone back to TV too. If you look at Space Force, but he really hasn't had a movie since as big, I think, on that level since Crazy Stupid Love.
I'm boiling up, you know. I need to defend first thing. I'm going to defend my boy Steve because if you haven't seen A Beautiful Boy, I highly recommend it to everyone. It's a fantastic film. Foxcatcher, he got an Oscar nomination, so I'd say that.
I just happen to have it here.
And
Big Short.
Even though he left office, he still managed to solidify himself. And now for John Hamm, one of my absolute favorite actors. I watched Mad Men twice within the span of like 3 years. I see John Hamm's name in a movie, I watch it for John Hamm. And every time, he breaks my heart. He breaks my everything. Because, yes, Bad Times in El Royale, he has, a bit of this. And yes, he has a nice part in The Baby Driver. But John Hamm is like John Hamm. He has to lead the movie. He's like a truck, a tanker. He was Emmy nominated every single year. And tough luck, he was against Bryan Cranston, who stole all his awards.
All right. Good effort, Lyd. Let's
do you see what I wrote there? It's like, why didn't I choose Elizabeth Moss? Who did I vote for? Yeah, good question. I guess.
Oh yeah, it's you and Gal. You don't know what to do? Yeah.
It's only because I don't know.
Oh yeah, sorry. I thought you were voting for me again. No, it's not you. It's just been a trend. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Lyd. I'm sorry.
I went for Lyd. Sorry.
Lyd as well. I wrote it down. I mean, I was boiling.
He erupted like a volcano.
I went Lyd.
Yeah,
too.
Lyd. All right, Lyd. Any last
I've
words?
had a busy weekend. It's been really wild. So you're lucky I showed up. I almost didn't show up.
Let's just get to our number 19 entrant.
Did I break the record?
Yeah, you broke the record.
You are the new MVP. Congratulations.
Come on.
Crit Critic was looking like, really hot on his high ivory castle, and then you just dethroned him. Very impressive.
Good choice.
And to the arena, to the team of Saw, he is 1/3 of the season 1 faction champions, the Watchers. We have two members of the Watchers in the match right now, Dev and Agnolo. Now let's get to the next prompt. What is the best Tom Cruise performance?
It's obviously Magnolia.
I went with Vanilla Sky. No, I'm kidding. It's Magnolia.
I'm gonna go with Tropic Thunder.
Okay,
Oh,
very
wow.
interesting.
I initially went with Mission Impossible, but then I have Magnolia as well.
All right, well, so I haven't seen Magnolia, so that's kind of an L for me, but I'm doing A Few Good Men.
A Few Good Men? Okay.
This is where I
Let's
die.
give you 8 minutes.
Tropic Thunder is one of my childhood favorite movies. And it wasn't even until the 10th time or so that I saw it and I saw his name show up in the credits. Keep in mind, I was like 8-10 years old. But I did not know it was Tom Cruise for the longest time. Everything he does in that movie is not Tom Cruise.
So obviously, Magnolia is his cream of the crop. It's the cherry on top of all the amazing performances he's given. Tropic Thunder is great. A Few Good Men is great. But Magnolia shows us a side of Tom Cruise that he has never shown in any other movie. When he's laying on the bed next to a very important person to him, and he just vents out his frustrations. It's a beautiful moment that feels very much caught in real time.
I watched Magnolia a few years back, and sadly the movie kind of did not fully stick in my mind. But what stuck in my mind was Tom Cruise and how different he was from all this action roles where he's jumping around and running. Here he was more of a emotional side of the thing, of his performance.
The thing is, like in a movie like Magnolia, like Paul Thomas Anderson movie that has Philip Seymour Hoffman, has John C. Reilly, William H. Macy, Alfred Molina, Julian Moore, and we're talking about a Tom Cruise performance, just shows how good that performance is. It's the first time that you kind of forget. I think even Tom Cruise forgot that he was Tom Cruise and he had to act like in a certain way.
But at least A Few Good Men is nominated, so like I'll take what I can get. I think this is actually a really kind of underrated one of his movies. He has like a really like light side where he's kind of like trying to pretend like what is happening around him isn't very serious. But then you see like all those scenes where he's just like very adamant and like really wants to protect the two men on trial. And then, of course, that iconic scene where he has just amazing chemistry with Jack Nicholson.
I would be dumb to go after Magnolia in any way here, especially since I haven't seen it. I just added it to my high priority watch list because it seems like I really got to catch up on some of my Tom Cruise. A Few Good Men, he was the leading role. He was also overshadowed by an amazing Jack Nicholson performance. When you think of You Can't Handle the Truth, everyone thinks of Jack Nicholson.
I think in Tom Cruise's defense, I think anytime that you're in a movie with Jack Nicholson and he was given such like such a role that was so iconic, like it's kind of hard to, it's very easy to be overshadowed. But I think everybody can still say that like Tom Cruise has a great performance.
All right, so that's gonna end the round. Vote for the person you think should be eliminated.
Well, I think it's obvious I got to go after Shayna.
I went after Dev because I don't know.
I had to go after Shayna.
I went with Dev.
It all comes down to the silent killer, Nikita.
I mean, Dave, I'm sorry, man, but I really like Few Good Men, and not a huge fan of Tropic Thunder. I mean, I'm bummed, really. I'm sorry, I have to be the one.
No, I knew it came down to a 50-50
What a
match
twist!
That was short.
Dev, any last words?
What a twist!
Of course, it would come down to just a question that I was in a weak spot on.
Oh my goodness, Shayna survives another round. What is she at now?
She is going on to her 12th round. Anyola's going on to 8, and Ren's about to do 6.
So let's get to our 20th entrant. Entering the arena to the theme of cars! Representing the 4 and Revenge!
I'm already voting for Wook after that song choice.
That's it.
You gotta make an entrance.
Cars.
Entrance is half the points.
All
I
right,
just hope
so-
I last longer than Dev.
What is the best movie trailer you've ever seen?
I got Deadpool.
I'm gonna go with The Force Awakens.
I'm gonna go with Logan.
The Force Awakens, the Star Wars Celebration trailer.
I'm just gonna be really controversial with this and just do the movie trailer I saw today. So I'm gonna do Old.
The trailer for Logan, the first one we got with the Johnny Cash song. It just really, really hit me hard. Not just because of the song, because the song has a lot of meaning for me. And the trailer was so good because he focused more. Being a superhero movie, he could have focused on the action, but he focused more on what he meant to that character, like losing all his friends and having Professor X like old and taking care of it.
Okay, so The Force Awakens, when that trailer was coming out, I'm gonna go with the second one, the longer one, I think. When that was coming out, I remember I was 13, and that was the first time I was experiencing like new Star Wars, and I was seeing all these things. The trailer is playing everywhere. Every movie you go to, it's playing. You see the updated look of Star Wars, how it's much more HD now because technology. These new characters, you're wondering, ooh, who's that? Who's that? Is Rey? Who's that?
The Force Awakens, the Celebration trailer was the second trailer because the first teaser trailer for The Force Awakens only told us to stay alert, and then they dropped this one at Celebration and everything stopped. We stopped watching the trailer. Multi-generations stopped watching the trailer. Teacher, students, sophomores, freshmen, seniors, everyone stopped and put their eyes on this trailer. It reinvigorated Star Wars. Everyone felt that Star Wars was back. Even talking about it right now, the hairs on my arm are rising up.
Deadpool, I was an ignorant fool. I didn't know who Deadpool is. I know he was like a bit of Wolverine. And then this trailer comes up and I watched it once, twice, and 20 times. I just could not get enough of how it was made. To the point that even when the movie finished, I went and watched the trailer again, and I kept watching it for a whole week.
So I think it does a good job with like displaying like what you're gonna see, which is always great, but it doesn't give away like how they're gonna get away, like what's causing it. So they stop short of like, you know, spoiling. It seems like there's lots of like individual like smaller sets within the bigger one. And yeah, it just made me excited. It's not a concept that I've seen before.
You picking old is like a Night Shyamalan twist because I was not expecting that. Like, I saw the trailer, and to be honest, like, not taking a dig at you, I kind of forgot what I saw.
I like horror movies, one. I also like, I'm just like more of like a concept kind of person than like, is this movie actually good? Like, is this movie interesting? Like, does it have an interesting concept?
I felt like every other horror trailer that I've seen, like one that comes to mind, Midsommar, was very similar to that trailer. I didn't see anyone talking about it.
Oh, I forgot your name. I'm sorry. It's like Shana.
Shayna, who did you vote for?
Myself.
I voted for Shayna too. I'm sorry.
Nikita and Luke, I'm assuming you have the same
as well.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Shayna, round of
It was an
applause.
excellent
You
run.
deserve it. The MVP. You have survived the longest out of anybody in the Cinemores Battle Royale. Tristan, how many rounds was it?
12 rounds.
12 rounds.
That's so good.
Wow.
Any last words?
I'm just really happy that I got this far, and you guys are all such like great, like you have really great opinions, like you guys have your own like pages and all this kind of stuff, and it's just really cool I got to compete with you all.
Thanks for coming on, Shayna. Shayna Bratz, everybody. MVP thus far. Now, Tristan, before we get to the next entrant, what are the numbers so far?
So Agnolo's about to go into his 9th round, so he has a chance at dethroning Quick Critic.
I can't because it doesn't let me go to the bathroom. I'm gonna be quit soon.
Ren's close behind, going on to 7 rounds. Nikita's going on to his 4th, and Luke's going on to his 2nd.
Suck it, Dev. Go watch some Netflix.
Oh my god.